Hey guys, Mr. C here. Just checking in here for, I think this is week 4 or 5, kind of lost track. Basically, we're going to be working on activities 9 and 10 all in one week this time. Looks something like this. So you're going to see here skip number 2, 7, and going beyond. After the paperclip, basically just stop, and we should be good to go. So I will fix that. Sorry, skip number 2, going beyond. Yeah. After that, after the paperclip, stop working. So what you're going to see here is there's going to be 2 videos. This is the first video. I'm going to go over these 3, and then the second video I'm going to go over these 3. If you have the desktop version, go for it. If you don't, use the browser version. That link is again down here. I'm going to dive right into this because there is kind of a lot. So you're going to see basically all your projects again. I am saving all my stuff under engineering design, and then I'm going to go over to new here and go to Fusion Design. Now, once you're in here, you're going to see basically the first one is talking about a revolve. Some of these dimensions are given, some of them are not. You got to do a little bit of math, no big deal. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that after this connects. If you are having issues, a lot of times if you clear the cache, basically you can come up to here, you can do settings, and then you basically go to, let's see here, down to clear browsing data. That usually hashes the cache, the cookies, and the history. If you guys, clear that, that might help your case, and then restart your computer. Should be good to go. If not, just email me and let me know what's going on. Okay. So the first one, you're going to make this little, it's called basically a rubber handle sleeve. And this is just to kind of give you guys the idea of how a revolve works. Might help a little bit. For those of you guys who aren't aware, just ask your teacher, but this is a section view. So basically, if I was to take a knife and cut this piece in half, this is what you would see on the inside. So we're going to start a new sketch. I'm just going to pick any random plane. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to draw a line, and I'm going to draw the line, the distance, as you can see right here, basically right here. 4.469. Now, there's going to be some things that you need to make sure you do first before you start a line. Make sure it's in inches. We did this before. Make sure it's in inches. If it's not in inches, this is going to be all jacked up and we're going to have some bigger issues. I already created that sketch, so I'm not going to create a new sketch. I'm just going to go back to that original sketch. You don't want to have 15 sketches here. That gets really annoying really fast. Line. Always start from the origin. Doesn't matter if you go left or right. I'm going to pipe in 4.469. And I'm going to press enter. Now you're going to see it changes to 4.47. In the desktop version, you can right click that and change the tolerance to, thousandths in this case. But in this, you can't. So it's okay. It's not a big deal. Just make sure you round up and type in the number. It'll automatically round up. The overall height. So if we look at that real quick, it doesn't really say right from the center all the way down, but it does tell you the OD, which is the overall diameter of this whole entire object. So 1.375. If we just punch that into the calculator, 1.375, and we divide that by 2 because that's diameter, that'll give us the radius we need. So 0.6875. So if I come over here, I know that if I go down 0.6875, press enter, then I have my 0.69 in this case. That's my from the center here all the way to the outside. I can bring this down, I should say to the right. And again, if you look over here, now this thickness, I'm basically starting from over here, go left, now I'm going down, now I'm going back over. So if I say 0.156, press enter, now I have 0.16, and again, these look a little crazy, but you get the hint. Thickness. So now we're going to go, basically it's telling us that that was that piece. I'm going to go all the way back up just so that I have that reference. And then I'm going to go from the corner, draw a line all the way the same distance that we already drew, and I'm not clicking or anything like that. It's automatic. And then I'm going to go up. Now, how thick is this wall right here? If you look over here, it says that it's 0.25. So I'm going to go up 0.25, press enter. I'm going to come all the way back, and now you can see that it kind of hits into that corner that we already made, which is why I made that first, so that I had something to click into. Now we're not done yet. We got to make sure we go all the way down first. So from this point, if you look here, there's a little hole here, and then this is actually a big hole here. So we need to make sure that that hole exists first. So if you look here, it says 0.1875. Now that's diameter, though. That's the diameter of this whole entire hole. But basically, you're going to see 0.1875 divided by 2 will give us the radius that we want, which is the half distance, how far this drops down. 0.094, I'm going to round it to. 0.094. Press enter. It didn't do anything because I didn't click back over here. Sorry. Go down. 0.094. Press enter. There we go. So I'm going to draw a line straight across just so, again, it closes that piece off. I'm going to hit escape a couple times just so I can get that out. And then I'm going to move this calculator here. You're going to see that basically this is a construction line. If I scroll down, this is what we're making. And as you can see, there's a little gap right here. This is a construction line, so I'm going to right-click onto that line. We'll go back into here. Click, right-click, go to normal construction, and that'll change that middle line to a construction line. And now you see actually this is closed off, and only this is that peach color. Basically just means that that is the body. The rest of this is not a body. If these dimensions ever get into your way and you get a little crazy, a little bit later down the road they will be, you can come over here to the right and you'll see constraints. You can take away dimensions, and then you can see just the part you're working with. It helps a lot. So we're going to stop that sketch now, and we are going to go to create, and then we're going to revolve, and this is the new option. Basically, we're going to select both of those profiles, they're called, and then we're going to select an axis. And what we're going to do is we're going to revolve this profile and wrap it 360 degrees around that piece. We're going to create a new body automatically, press OK, and then you're left with this piece. Now you got the big hole on one side and you got the smaller one on the other. The only thing that you would have done or you could have done in the sketch before, but you can't do it in the desktop version, is this fillet, and that's just basically this curved edge around here. So we go to modify after you made the solid, go to modify, go to fillet or fillet. We're going to select both of those edges, and basically right here it says 0.25 radius, 0.25 type, and that just means that all the radiuses throughout the whole part are 0.25 in radius. So we go to 0.25, and it says it right here, radius, so we know we're all good there. Press enter. Now you can see these edges. Some of you might not like that. You can drop down here, and you can make this shaded, and it'll literally look identical to what piece we just made. So that's the first piece. You can slow that down or speed it up, whatever you need to do. Goes through all that, everything I just said. This is number 2. Skip it. Please don't do number 2. It asks you to take measurements from prior, and we're not doing any of that. So the holes. Now the holes, they basically want you to make this object here, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now. So we're going to do a new sketch. I'm going to do it on this surface here. I'm going to move this kind of around, and I'm going to make a random circle. It doesn't really matter where. I'm just doing this all in one. You can make it in separate parts if you want, and separate drawings, totally up to you. So the first thing you need to do is make the overall diameter. The overall diameter here is 4. So I'm going to type in 4. How do I know it's diameter? Press enter twice. Excuse me. I turn those dimensions off. So I'm going to press escape a couple times. I'm going to turn back on. Click it once, click the dimension once, and you can move that around if you want, but you can see it's in diameter. If it was in radius, you just double the number. You're all set. First, got the circle. Next one, you got to make the interior circle here. So we're going to make another circle from that same one, and this diameter it says is 2.5. So we're going to go 2.5 in diameter, and that's just a construction. Enter again. So we can change that even to a construction line if we want. Totally fine. It's just to give us a reference for all this other piece that we're going to put all these holes in. Next step is to put some lines or some points, whatever you want. Here's the point command, which is right here. And then you can also dimension it. You can make lines. There's a million different ways to do the same exact thing inside of Fusion, so it's totally up to you. I'm going to do it a couple different ways just to show you both. Start from the origin, and what I need to do is make a place for where these holes are going to go after I extrude this piece. So I'm going to go up once. I'm going to make another line randomly off of this piece. Totally random. There is no measurement yet. And you can see it turns kind of blue once I'm on that line, or green once I'm on that line. Just make sure that that's there, because that means that you're going to that point, going to that reference edge. So I press escape a couple times. Now I need to make sure that these are the correct angle. It says 5 times 72 degrees, which means that the distance or the angle at each one of these is 72 degrees equally. So I'm going to do dimension. I'm going to select the first line. I'm going to select the second line. And then I'm going to click, and it automatically turns everything gray until you type in 72 in this case. You press enter. You can press enter again No, you can't. Lied. You can in Real Fusion, can't do it in this one. Press dimension, another line, punch in 72 again. Press escape, press dimension again, line, 72. And then we can do 72. That did not look right, does it? Yeah, let's. No way that that's right. Delete that. Must have selected the wrong line. Dimension, that one to this one. 72. No way. Huh. It's doing that. Let's do another line here. See, even the teacher screws up sometimes. Dimension. That line. There we go. I don't know why I did that, but a little funky. And this last one, 72, press enter. It's doing the same thing. I don't know why it's doing that. Delete that. Draw another line. And dimension, again, that line to that line. Let's try this again. 72. There we go. The last one you can do. It's totally up to you. It looks like I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So that one's fine. You don't have to do this last dimension if you don't want. It'll say over constraint. I'll do it just to show you what happens. But in reality, see, it's already 72, so you don't even have to do it if you don't want to. So now I have all those points, and I got all this madness. I can turn off the dimensions, and now you got this just like little star thing. But you have the points and where this all these holes are going to go, and that's all you're doing is putting these holes. So we're going to stop this sketch. We're going to go to extrude, and we are going to extrude this whole thing. I'm going to go in the negative just so I can see that this sketch is on top. And it says over here to extrude it 1.5. I know it's a little off on the side there, but it does say I'm going to go negative 1.5. Press OK. If you go in positive, it's OK, no big deal. But now you can see the sketch disappeared. You need to make sure you go back over to sketches and turn that little light bulb on so that you can see the reference sketch that you're going to use. So now I'm going to kind of rotate the camera. I'll press top here, and you can see you have your piece. Now you're going to go to modify. Oh, I'm sorry, create, and you're going to go to hole. And if you look at basically this first point I'm going to click, it brings this down. There's a drop down, simple, counterbore, or countersink. Now, again, for all those you have, your teacher, you can ask your teacher. We've kind of learned this, and I'm not going to, for the sake of the length of this video, I'm not going to talk about all that. I'm just going to quickly determine what these are. Simples, basically all the way through. A counterbore, counterbore is where you have this V basically, and I'll show you what that looks like. And a countersink is basically where the head of the bolt disappears within the part and sinks the head of it. So I'll show you guys all these, but real quick, first one is a simple. It says through, which means through all. So we know that the thickness, the depth of this is going to be 1.5. Even if you select here and say all, it doesn't work for some reason. I don't know why. Diameter right here, it says is 0.25, so I'm going to type in 0.25. Tip angle, ignore, flip direction, all that. You press OK, and now you have your first hole. Pretty straightforward. Go back to the top view, go and highlight that sketch again. Make sure you turn that back on. In the normal Fusion, it will not do that. It'll automatically keep it there until you turn it off, but don't ask me why it doesn't do it in this one. Again, create. You're going to have to do this again. You select the point that you want this hole to be at. You go to, in this case, counter bore, or countersink, I should say. So we're going to go to countersink, and you'll see if I move this at an angle here, let's see if I can make this so you guys can see this a little better. You'll see a couple different dimensions here, and it's not too bad. Basically, what the first one is the depth of the whole entire thing, and this is always, in our case, going to be, for this one, 1.5 again. So that drops this whole entire thing down. The diameter in this case, it shows you, it goes diameter is 0.375. So we're going to say in 0.375, and that's just the overall diameter of this hole. So this outside hole. The countersink diameter is basically how much the inside, this little circle, is going to be. So if I click on that, and it says right here, the countersink is the diameter is 0.75. So I'm going to type in 0.75, and you can see that it kind of gets a little crazy, a little bigger. My bad, it's the other way around. This one, this 0.375 is the inside, the 0.75 is the outside. My bad. I'm going to counter bore in this case, and you'll see that this actually starts giving you a little preview of what that is. And that little shape is basically the head right here of this bolt disappearing. So you got 0.375, you got the depth in this case, it says go down 0.25. 0.25. So if I screwed up, oops, I pressed enter, and I didn't do that on purpose, but if you screw up, you got the timeline down here still. You can double click this hole and go back into there and edit what you need to edit. So the counter bore depth is 0.25. This should be actually 0.75. Right. I pressed enter again on accident. 0.75, 0.25 is the depth. 1.5 is the depth of the overall thing. The overall diameter, the inside diameter right here is 0.375. So diameter 0.37 through all means this whole entire thing, this little circle. Counter bore, diameter is 0.75, meaning this big one is 0.75, and it goes down 0.25 inches. Hope that makes sense. I made that way too complicated. Let's make it easier on this next one. So we got counter bore, now we got countersink here. Basically, again, turn that sketch on. We're going to create, we're going to do hole, we're going to select that object, and we're going to go to counter bore. I keep mixing them up, sorry, countersink. Countersink, and then you're going to say 0.375, 0.75 at an 82 degree angle. So this one can be a little bit trickier. Overall depth, it's still 1.5. We're still going through the whole entire part. The little diameter, as you can see right here, is the the overall diameter. No, I did it right. Yeah, sorry. 0.375 goes here. Pressed enter on accident. Go back into that. The tip angle, ignore. The countersink diameter is going to be basically this next number. So countersink is 0.75. As you see, this grows. And the countersink angle is 82 degrees, not 90 degrees. So 82. And what you see there is basically this is going to create this countersink. And those are just for different types of bolts. The head of the bolt is countersink, and basically the head disappears so that it's flush with the part so it doesn't snag and all that kind of stuff. So then I can press OK. And as you can see, if I scroll in here, you can see basically the countersink. This next one is thread, or threaded, I should say. Go ahead and do the same thing. You're going to go to hole. Move this over here so you guys can see this. And instead of this, you're not going to be able to do a thread. And it's totally fine. You can do threads later, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of do this. You could do this all at the same time if you're in the desktop version. You can't in the inside of this browser version show. We're just going to do a simple one first. So it says all this is the thread stuff, but it says diameter or 0.75 depth of a 1/4 inch piece. So basically, we're going to go only 0.75 down, not the full distance. The diameter is 0.25, as it says right there. And you'll see this little hole, and it doesn't go all the way through because we only made it go a certain distance. As you can see, it doesn't go all the way through. So after all that's said and done, I'm going to press OK. And now I have this little hole that, again, you're not going to be able to see all the way through because it's just diving in there. We can then go to create thread, and we can select the inside of this piece. And it says UNC. So if we come on down here, you're going to see UNC is ISO. Let's see if they even have it in this one. I'm going to use this one. Yeah, there we go. So ANSI and ISO, those are two different things. One's metric, one's US. So you need to kind of do a little research on that. But again, 0.25. This one's 1/4 inch of 20 UNC. That means for every 1/4 inch, there's 20 threads. And again, if you look over here, it says 1/4 inch. I'll zoom out a little bit. 1/4 inch, 20 UNC, 1B. Don't worry, it's right here, 1B. Right-handed, doesn't really matter. It doesn't say either way. Press OK. And then, as you can see, you'll have your threads built into your piece. Zoom out a little bit. This last piece is just another hole. It doesn't even say anything. Let's see if it even shows down at the bottom here. I think that last hole is just Yeah, it's you pick. You can do whatever you want. I'm not even going to make it just for the sake of time. So that's that piece. Last but not least is basically going to be this uh, basically a circular pattern in a sense. It's called circular pattern feature, but basically it's just this plate, and you're just going to make this circular pattern. Now, again, you're going to revolve, same thing. I'm going to go home just so that I can do this. Press new sketch, do this one on this piece. I'm going to randomly come over here, draw a line. Line. Now, again, you're going to be doing it from the origin. I'm not, just because of the sake of time here. I'm going to do this 1 inch. Press enter. And then I'm going to go up. It says, I'm just drawing this piece here, 0.375. I'm trying to draw the profile so that I have something to revolve. I'm going to go back over to 1 here because I don't need to connect here. I'm going to go all the way up. I'm going to draw another line actually just so it's easier and you guys understand where these numbers are coming from. 2.5 is the overall height. And then I'm going to come over. It says 0.5. And then I'm going to go down. It looks like I'll leave that alone for now. Right click, repeat line. I'm going to go up. Let's do it this way. I want the numbers to be exact so you guys don't get all confused. 1 comes up. And then if this is a half, this is a half. Click, click. And now I have my piece here. Basically from there you can do a couple things. You'll see 2 profiles here after you press escape a couple times, but now I have all my measurements. I can bring them back just to make sure I did them right. And again, you have to click, kind of tricky, but you click once. I got this, I can do this. There we go. And drag the pieces so that you can see your part, because it can get a little tricky if you can't see what you're trying to do. So what I want to do now is I'm going to revolve this over this construction line. So I'm going to make this piece revolve around this. I'm going to wrap it around like I did on my piece over here at the beginning. So this is going to be one big piece. I'm going to stop the sketch. I'm going to go to create and revolve. I want to revolve this profile along this axis, this construction line I made here. And you'll see in a second here, it should make, there we go, new body, press OK. And after that's done, you can rotate and you'll see that even it made this plate because all it did was rotate that profile that I made already. And that profile was kind of from here. So if I rotate, you know, that little piece, that little nub, and then this little arch here, you're going to see that. So good to go. Now I got this piece. If I go back over here, it also tells me to put this little key in here. So don't forget that. I'm going to go to the left side just so that I can see this piece. I'm going to move this. Let's see if I can just take those other bodies out here, just so that they're out of the way. There we go. So I'm going to extrude. Now it's asking me to do a new sketch over here to make this little piece here. So I'm going to do a new sketch onto this surface. And this surface doesn't really make much sense, but you're going to see that piece, and it's going to go all the way through the piece. So I'm just showing you for that view. We're going to zoom in here, and we're going to make a line that basically from the center goes up 0.45. Press enter. Now you can see here it says 0.05 one way, and then 0.05, and then it goes 0.05 the other way, and basically it just cuts through until the piece is all the way through. It's nothing fancy here. So I'm just going to randomly draw a line over here, go over, and it says to go all the way over 0.1 because it's 0.05 plus 0.05. Go all the way back up and connect those dots. And all we did there is create 2 profiles that now we can stop this sketch, make that profile, basically extrude and cut through this piece. So we're going to extrude. I'm going to pick that piece as well as this piece. It's a little tricky on the, oops. I don't want any angle. I'm trying to create this profile. Sorry. There we go. And then I want to, instead of join, I want to cut. And I'll bring this piece back over so you guys can see what I'm trying to do. It's really hard on this desktop version, guys. I'm sorry. Go through the whole entire piece in both directions, 2-sided, makes it easier. Press OK. in a second, you will see that the key is cut through that piece. Okay. So we got that. Now we scroll a little bit down, and it's going to ask you to create a hole. If you look at where this hole's at, it tells you, does it tell you? Right here. I'm going to zoom in, and it tells you 1.65. Sorry, bring that activity back. 1.65. So I'm going to go back to that sketch that I was just in, and I'm going to draw a random line up from here, 1.65. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new sketch onto this back surface, because these holes are onto this back surface, not on the front surface here. I'm going to click new sketch, and it looks like it's on that new surface, but if I round here, you're going to see that the grid is actually on this surface right here, not this surface. So we want that surface. We're going to go back to this nice view here, make it flush, press a line, go up 1.65, press enter, and now we have our point in which we can make a hole. So I'm going to stop that sketch, and now I have this. I can go to create, I can go to hole, select that point. In this case, if I go back to the drawing here, it says that the hole is basically, I know you can't see that, so I'm going to zoom in, 0.5, and it's all the way through. So we're going to say the whole entire depth of this, if we go back, was 1, so we can just say it goes through the 1. Diameter is, like I said here, 0.5. And then good on all this other stuff, you just press OK, and now we have a hole. Now, see how easy this works, but in Fusion, normal Fusion, you just press rectangular pattern, or circular pattern in this case, and you're good to go. But I'm going to show you guys. Basically, you can come into Create, come into Pattern, and Circular Pattern. Now it's going to ask you to select bodies or faces. We want this piece here to go around this internal piece here. And what it's going to ask you then to do is how many times do you want it to do that? Well, if you look at here, you count the one it says. You can even says in here how many times you want it to rotate. If you zoom in, I'll show you guys. I know on yours it's going to look a lot nicer. But in this case, we can just count because I can't read that. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's try 9 and make sure that that's it. You don't count the existing one. Looks about right. Yeah. Press 9, press OK. And now we have basically our existing holes. And those are the first 3 parts. The tire and the tire, sorry, let me zoom out a little bit, this rectangular pattern, and then we're going to skip this one, and you're going to do the paper clip. I will post momentarily. So this is the first video. Hope you, if you have any questions, please just email your teacher. I hope this helps, guys. Thanks.